Appears to be live. We'll test to make sure. And such. So, testing. Waiting. Appears to be live. Okay, so it's working. All right, so. Oh, I probably could leave that up, but, well, it doesn't matter. I'll decide later whether it's important or unimportant. So, yeah, I've been watching. There's a whole bunch of these rational science, Bill Gatey video is posted today. So hours worth of stuff. So take a while to get through it all. Um, Talking about energy here, not really force so far, but many minutes to go. So so much to do, so little time to do it. He's a good, you know, I mean, every now and then he says something, quite insightful, but yes, most of it's just crap. It turns it into crap anyway. Starts heading in the right direction and just throws it all away. All right, let's see. We probably can move this over here. Oh, there's a new comment. How exciting. So we'll do some comments, I suppose. So I plugged the Pooter in the stereo with equalizer, cut down the bass, cranked up the mid-range to make it listenable. Whatever. I don't see your problem. And again, it's not fixable. Okay. This is a live room. I don't have any control over how YouTube accesses the microphone. It's a fucking $200 microphone. What are you bitching about, fuckhead? I mean, you're just saying block me, right? All right. So fuck you. Just whatever you're up to, fatty. Fuck off. Jesus Christ, people are just so fucking stupid. So this idiot posts just I hate these links without any comment, just a blind link like it's supposed to mean something. So it's just some tiny dumbbell spin 60 billion times a minute. May help solve. No, it doesn't help solve anything. There's no solving anywhere. It's just a useless story. So I actually went to go read the paper on the subject. But unfortunately, you have to pay for it, right? I did get some of the images. So they just spun a couple of pieces of silicone stuck to each other. Not really a dumbbell, they're stuck to each other. And so they made the fastest spinning human-made object or something. That's another one of these devices. Lots of mirrors, lots of lenses, lots of boxes, lots of things doing things. Yeah, right, sure. No, but anyway, but this doesn't have any implications to anything. There's nothing. It doesn't, nothing. There's nothing. It's not, nothing. It doesn't, I don't know how it's relevant to anything. Where did I make the argument you can't spin balls of silicone? Silica, or whatever the fuck it is. Anyway, just absolutely useless crap. So thanks, but really, no thanks. Blind links suck. I don't know what this is. Draft science. Fine. Whatever. Thank you for writing it in capital letters. Gary still keeping the dream of the ether alive. Quite obviously, I've made it clear. I think the idea of ether is idiotic. But yes, if there's ether people who think in terms of, oh yeah, no, I don't mean by ether and ether. I mean like an ocean full of little molecules. So yes, in that sense, yes. The idea that the universe is full of little bits of energy is hardly crazy. So you say, I'm keeping something alive. Well, I think all the physicists believe that cosmic background radiation is a real thing. Now, they don't call it ether, but if you have enough of it, wouldn't be exactly the same thing as an ether, idiot? Yeah, it would, idiot. Refreshing to hear someone argue for it with real thought. So again, I am not arguing for an ether. So another just just these people are so desperate they can't tell the truth ever. They have to premise every argument with lie after lie after lie after lie. All right. Whenever you don't start measuring the velocities of electrons in different mediums, So how do you do that anyway, asshole? Why don't you explain to me how you measure the velocities of electrons in different mediums? Frankly, how exactly, how do you, where are these experiments performed? Because the electrons don't go very far unless you shoot them incredibly fast. So exactly how do you, I mean, I can't just shoot an electron 10 miles an hour and watch it and get some data to analyze. So again, where's the data? Why do I have to do the experiment? You mean nobody's ever done them before? Okay, it will ruin it for you. Now, I'm afraid it won't. So there's absolutely no argument here. Just absolute lying rubbish. Ugh. Just fuck off. I mean, you can't make a real argument, right? You can't sit there and actually link to something that in some way proves I'm wrong. Not one fucking real world, real experiment that demonstrates in some way what I'm saying can't be true. You can't do that. So all you can do is this slop, this pussy bullshit. Anyway. So this asshole, all assholes, just letting you know. All right, let's see which one to read first. One of my saved just because I was pretty sure I was going to block them. But anyway, all right, so again, the time code. He didn't just guess about photons being affected by gravity. Well, I did ask the direct question. Exactly how is bending photons with gravity essential to the theory of relativity? I mean, I asked the direct question. You think you could just answer the direct question? All right. He developed the math that makes actual predictions. So again, more crap. He developed the math because Eddington forced him to, okay, to do the math for, say, the problem with the Mercury's precession. It wasn't Einstein's idea. It was Eddington's idea. How electromagnetic waves, so again, an idiotic presumption that you know that photons are electromagnetic waves and you've somehow proven it with the non-existent experiments that don't prove it. Frankly, no proof that you can move a photon with either electricity or magnetism. Okay, that electromagnetic waves bend. And again, no evidence that that actually happens because the Eddington experiment is garbage. And as I've pointed out, the gravitational lensing experiment is also garbage. How come my reply isn't showing up? So I guess people can spam my replies. Now look in the spam folder. No, it's not there. But we have something else here, so we'll have to get to that one. I want to prove it until I read it, because who knows where it was posted to. Well, it's the Talk Physics video, so it should show up. Well, I'll wait, just in case something goes wrong. So where the hell's my reply? That's really irritating. My own reply isn't showing up. I mean, it's just bullshit. All right, anyway. I mean, I actually have to go to the video, I guess. So let's read on. He developed mathematics of predictions how electromagnetic waves bend and the degree to which they do. Well, again, that's Lorentz, so he didn't exactly develop that. These relativistic equations are used in GPS. So again, the same bullshit argument that somehow, number one, that GPS is explicitly using Einstein math, which is under debate. In terms of the Lorentz factor and all that shit, it isn't exactly coming out exactly perfectly right. But again, I'm not arguing against the fact that there's time dilation. So I've already explained why there's time dilation. And it has clearly to do with breaking clocks. As I've pointed out, if an atom is doing something, and then you say, do something else while you're doing this, well, that means it has to stop what it's doing every now and then to do the other thing. So if I say, dance as fast as you can in one place, and then I say, well, move to your left while you dance as fast as you can, you won't dance as fast. So the fact that radioactive decay slows down with velocity isn't a big surprise. And this, again, these subjects were talked about before Einstein. The Time Machine novel was written in 50 years before Einstein or more. So this is all crap. I mean, I've already dealt with this argument hundreds of times. You just keep dragging it up like, oh, you surprised me. I never heard of GPS. No, I have heard of it, idiot. Sorry, but I think you underestimate the rigor physics really is, how rigorous physics really is. So I just did a video pointing out how it's providing no explanation for tremendous volumes of energy in the universe. Everything that's moving in the universe, basically the big universe, they have had no explanation. They say the invisible man is doing it. The invisible magic geometry force. Geometro. It's the Geometron. The Geometron monster is pushing things into each other. And he's calling that a rigorous explanation. No, that's a silly fucking explanation. It's a fucking girly, immature kiddie explanation. It's not a grown-up explanation, fuckface. It's nonsense. And your silly Heisenberg crap. Oh, no, the little bits don't know where they are. No, instead of blaming the fact that we don't see very good, you think, no, the universe is blurry. I mean, I made these arguments in the video, and this cunt says this crap. So he doesn't account for how he has no evidence, how the Eddington experiment sucked as an experiment in terms of it was way under the hype, okay, in terms of the integrity of the actual results and the ability to actually even do the experiment, the ability to even get past the error margins. And I've already pointed out how the lens is the wrong shape for the galactic lensing, so you have no hope at all of explaining that crap. Instead of answering any of those issues, you just play this game. Oh, we've proven it. You haven't proven anything, and I've pointed out how you haven't proven anything. Your evidence sucks, and your theory is silly. Your explanations for the causes of the most common and most fundamental, elemental expressions of motion in the universe are silly explanations. Virtual photons, dark matter, bent space, Heisenberg. This is silly shit. And here you are selling it. And besides being silly, you have no evidence of any of it. Zero real evidence. And you talk about how rigorous your physics is. Your physics sucks. And you're just a propagandist pretending that GPS proves Einstein's explanation of the cause is correct, when you haven't even thought enough to figure out that maybe somebody might say, no, there is time dilation, in the sense that clocks break. Okay, but they don't break because time is a dimension, idiot. They break because if you force things to move, you change their internal structure. That's why acceleration, that's why when the guys in the rockets are taking off, they go through kind of unpleasant experiences, because being accelerated is unpleasant, because your body's getting fucked with. You're being forced to change into something that's moving, and you don't like it. You can feel the disruption. Duh. You can feel your clock getting broken, dumbass. Fuck you. Obnoxious, rude crap. All right, so I did give him a response to this video in detail, line by line, but it's not here. Let's just make sure it's on the actual video. This is like sort of horse shit.
Enough information, and we don't have experiments to make exact calculations. We think, he's full of caution about drawing conclusions. But when it comes to...
So let's see, comments. Oh, this is really irritating. You mean I should have saved my own comment? It's not here. I can't believe this shit. I mean, I did a line by fucking line response. Damn it. I mean, that's really horse shit. Fuck YouTube. It was there. I mean, I posted it. I checked to make sure it was there. It was there. All right, wasn't to this comment anyway. So that's the problem. Okay. It's a different comment. I did line by line. Okay, we'll get to that. I don't know why that one's not showing up. That's weird too. Well, it's good I saved a couple of these. So anyway, I saved a couple. All right. Your physics has no rigor. So that's just pile of shit. Number one, it's a unification theory and, kicks ass in that sense. That answers all these questions that haven't been answered for thousands of years. Why did the magnets move into each other? Charge, it explains it. Why is there all this tension in the nucleus? It explains all that shit, fuckhead. So it has a ton of rigor as an explanation because it's a nice mechanical, simple explanation. No woo, no magical things, no bullshit. Just simple little rules and simple functions, not even more complicated than the rules of a checkerboard. Not even chess, it's checkers, for fuck's sake. All right, I could give description of how the universe works if I made a vague enough, amazing statement, a vague enough and ignore details. So where are the details in Bend's space? Where's the details of the mechanism? Where's the details in the magnetism? Where's the details? Where's the details in the strong force? Where's the details? Where's the detail of a single fucking force physics and conventional physics explains? Not a single fucking detail of a cause is ever provided. You have absolutely no details. All you have is magical forces that cause events. Magical randomness shows up. Magical bent geometry shows up. Not a single bit of it has a detail, okay, or isn't anything called specific or detailed or anything. It's as vague as it fucking could get. You can't get a more vague cop-out than bent space. It's as vague could be. The magical, you might as well just say, the magical force did it. The magical God did it. It's a fucking God theory. Amazing that this stupid putz could type words like that. You need to think of physics more like engineering. No, you need to do that. There's no engineer in the history of mankind. Nobody fixing a car ever says, oh, I got to fix the Ben Spacer-Romer. I got to get rid of those virtual photons in the carburetor. What a pile of fucking shit. You're the one who is engineering nothing. You have no A, B, C, D. You have no mechanical drawing. You have no picture of a single one of these fucking things. You have nothing. You have absolutely nothing. And here you are saying crap like this. It's just fucking amazing that these words can come out of you can type these words without the fucking goddamn duplicitous hypocrite warning going off saying, oh my God, how can I say something so fucking stupid? Anyway. Unless like a philosophy. So again, where am I talking about philosophy? Where in any of this is there any philosophy? Oh, there's little two kinds of force bit and two kinds of matter bit. There's electrons, protons, and proton force and electron force. Wow, how philosophical. No, not philosophical at all. Not complicated at all. Really simple. They all just move the speed of light, the little force bits, in a straight line. Oh, that's so philosophical. No, it isn't, you jackass. God, how can you be such lying pieces of shit to type this crap? Anyway, it's the same with your idea about the internet map. About an internet map. Oh, so if you're going to sit there and defend how poorly indexed the internet is, then you're really a stupid cunt. Why don't you write a blueprint actually implementing it instead of using mushy language? What's mushy about any of the language? And what are you talking about? An internet map, implementing it. It was already implemented 15 years ago by lots of search engines that had very good algorithms. Google doesn't index the comments on this video. Google doesn't index most of the internet, right? I mean, technically, you could argue that all the YouTube comments aren't indexed. Who knows what other comments they just ignore? They didn't do that 15 years ago, the other companies. You could get everything. You could just type in JPEG, and then search actually images and just get images. You could do lots of things you can't do now. So that's how I'd implement it. I'd go back 15 years and revive all of those algorithms because, frankly, they're better than the modern algorithm. Because the modern algorithm has nothing to do with anything but selling fucking ads. You stupid fucking cunt. Oh, man. What an asshole. You don't deserve a Nobel Prize for writing whatever this is, pop sci in English. So again, so for explaining a theory, you don't deserve, and for the theory actually fitting the evidence, that shouldn't matter. So I don't know what this is. Yes, for writing, you're not supposed to get it or something. What's your complaint? It's a theory of cause. You don't have a theory of cause besides God done it. All of your causes are God theories. Invisible forces from invisible places doing magnificent and complex things without any fucking understanding of how the fuck they do that. How the fuck do your little God powers, how does your pulling gravity force, how does it do the pulling? What is it pulling on, fuckhead? Why don't you explain just one of them? Why don't you explain why magnets move into each other? Why don't you explain why the earth moves into the sun? Why don't you explain the movement with something other than a mushy cop-out God of the Gap answer? Amazing. Skimping on actual math, modeling, and predictions. So again, predictions are sort of irrelevant in the modern age, frankly. There's not that much more to predict. And I've already predicted your failure. I've predicted that there'll never be any proof of a gravitational lens. You're never going to have any good evidence. You're never going to be able to explain why there's no lensing in all the places you think there's really fast gravity. So you think there's black holes in places. In the center of gravity, in the center of the galaxy, they have these images of stars and they're moving and they're saying, look, wow, look at the way they're moving. There must be a ton of gravity there. Well, how come there's no lensing there if there's a ton of gravity there? So you never account for any of the counter evidence, the evidence that demonstrates your theory is wrong. You don't account for any of it, and you don't look for any of it, and you ignore it when somebody shows it to you. And so you're the dishonest ones here. You're not doing pop sci, you're doing lie sci, okay? It's all lie science. All right, and on the mathematics subjects, I already pointed out, mathematics is about describing events, effects. It's not about describing causes. And I'm not arguing with many of the effects. Again, I have a time dilation theory. Pretty simple. You're dancing as fast as you can. You have to move in a direction. You can't dance as fast. Not very fucking complicated, jackass. Bingo. Clock broken. Not complicated. Fits the evidence perfectly. No problem. Done. What's your counter argument? Oh, that's right. You don't have a counter argument to the fact that that works as an explanation. You don't need any fancy time dimension. Stupid cunt. So math is nice, but again, where have I pointed out that I disagree with the math? Except to point out that, Newton's gravitational equation would be a little bit better if he separated the two forces and then said, add them up if you like, but they're separate forces. The earth applies a force on the sun. That's the fact. Okay, so, and the sun applies a force to the earth. And there is no superposition of forces. But yes, the equation is correct for what it's saying. The total force is that. But the fact is the actual forces are manifested in the sense that the sun causes gravity and the earth causes gravity. And so technically, if you're going to be accurate about it, you ought to just point out that they are separate forces and you're just adding them using this equation. All right, modeling. I've done plenty of modeling, tons of drawings, tons of explanations. So just lie some more, ass wipe. Okay, I'm sure you think you have it all figured out in your head. No, I have it all figured out in substance, all right? In the sense that, yeah, I've got all the general things fit. But yeah, clearly I haven't had 100 years to perfect mine. And I haven't had millions of people working on it. But yeah, it's almost perfect, like really good, even with just one person for 7 years working on it. And it's already a damn good theory, shithead. Give me the money and the energy that's been spent on string theory, okay? So give me the intellectual capital, the money and the years that have been spent on string theory to spend on my theory. And what do you think would happen, jackass? You fucking jackass. because it's a damn sight better than that nonsense. Yeah, the game would be over. I win. Dumbass. All right. Let's see. Where was I? I'm sure you figured it out in your head, but until you produce the math. So again, what math do I have to produce? It's exactly the same universe and outcome. I haven't argued the effects. The experiments demonstrating effects are not in dispute. I'm not saying there's no double slit pattern. I'm not saying there's no gravity. I'm not saying the Earth doesn't seem to move towards the sun, you know, by some pulling force. Well, it's not a pulling force is all I'm arguing. Yes, that's right. It's an external force called mock gravity that fits the evidence perfectly. So again, why would I be arguing the math? The math is already established by mock gravity that it perfectly fits the math. That's why there is mock gravity, is because it perfectly fits the math. So what math do I have to come up with, jackass? This fake argument that the math is physics, that math is causes, that math explains why the Earth moves towards the sun, that math explains why magnets move together. The math doesn't explain any of that. It just explains the fact that it will. It doesn't explain how. You have nothing to do with causes. You're useless as detectives. You're not looking for the truth of cause. You're just sitting there trying to say, can you make something spin 1 billion, 2 billion times in a second? I can make something spin 1 billion. You're playing games with physics. You're not doing any physics. Anyway. But until you produce math, which is just bullshit, I have plenty of details. Like I said, I have more details than any of your physics is providing. You have no details regarding bent space. You have no details concerning the creation of your virtual photons. You have no details explaining dark matter. You have nothing. None of your forces have a single fucking detail. Mine have lots of details. You may find out when you try. Let's go. No, we missed one. Details, it's just mush. Well, that's all just you're saying. And again, you're not counting arguing a single point I've made. You haven't answered the questions I've asked. You account for nothing. All right. I ask you a simple question. You got nothing. I say push is obviously the simpler force. It wins the Occam razors contest than pull. Why don't you explain to me how a pull works in the universe? Why don't you point me to the pull in the universe that you've explained the detail of how it pulls, how there's a real pull and not a push. Why don't you give me one example of something that happened in the universe that's a real pull? How do you even know your physics is correct? As it matches the evidence, jackass, and is completely consistent with the mathematics. That's how you test it, jackass. You compare it to the evidence and the experiments and the math and all the stuff you do know. And if it fits, like dancing as fast as you can, and you can't keep dancing the same speed if somebody tells you you have to do something else. Multitasking means you have to use up some of your energy. Not a big fucking, holy shit, the time dimension got broken. No, the time dimension doesn't get broken when you have to multitask. Your task gets broken. The task doesn't get done as fast. That's what happens when you multitask. No dimension gets warped. You just don't have as much time. Dumbass. Ignorant fuck. Okay. If you don't develop the rigorous details. So again, there are rigorous details to explain why magnets crash into each other, unlike your dopey theory. You may find out when you try to actually implement it that it doesn't work. So again, give me an example of one experiment that it's inconsistent with, one solid experiment that I can't explain using my theory. Go ahead, show me the results, the scientific results that demonstrate something that I haven't predicted with my theory. Go ahead. Well, you can't do it, and you won't do it, because you're a lying fucking sack of shit. So I'll just remove it. But yeah, keep talking in this fucking way, and you're not going to be long for this interaction, because you're just a fucking liar. All right, so there was some con science asshole who posted a fucking idiotic comment. Now I guess he deleted it just to end up deleting my response, which is clever. I should have saw that coming. Yeah, they're gone. So that is unfortunate, because he did this whole spiel on how the gravitational lensing crap, and how somehow I've been already told this before, and blah blah blah. And so I just explained all the basic truth. So I guess the lying cunt deleted his comments. Fucking liar. It would appear they're not here. So that's unfortunate. I don't know if I saved one of his. I might have. Let's see if I saved it. Ah, we have one of them here. Yes. Okay. So at least I have one of them. All right. So well, might as well deal with it since I got it here. Oh, I have two of them actually. Okay. So this was a response to the rigger comment, maybe. So he says, Michael, haven't you heard? And then he uses my full name. So yeah, I deleted the comment. There's absolutely no reason to use my full name. I don't have my full name on the channel. I don't really care, but I'm just saying it's just wrong. If I put my name on the channel, then you could do that shit. But you don't sit there and do this, whatever it is, this outing thing. It's just fucking rude. Incredibly rude. So anyway, uses my name, is challenging the why, not the how. I'm challenging the cause, not the effect. So just play all these little word games. You can't find anything better to do. You can't find a better argument to make than just play little word games. I'm challenging their description of causes. I'm challenging not too many of the effects. I mean, some of the experiments where they claim there is an effect, yeah, I'm claiming that effect isn't there. He has stated this a million times, you see. What happens is you've got the force bits, period, and they start tip-tapping. So this is a cowboy, obviously. And suddenly the universe created sentient organisms. So this just has nothing to do with anything. I mean, it's not even close to an argument, right? Then the force bits began to, whatever this is, well, I'll just delete this. This is just too silly. Okay. So it's good I deleted it because it's just absolute crap. All right. So the other one was, it's not that I don't think the universe could be made entirely of red and blue arrows. It's just that if it is, then those particles must have different properties than what Draft says. Well, I've already argued that the property isn't red and blue, but anyway, I've just argued that they're clearly the protons know the difference between the electron force and the proton force, and the electrons know the difference between the electron force and the proton force. They can tell the difference, and that's all that matters. What the exact difference is doesn't matter. Round, square, it just doesn't matter. But anyway, go ahead, play your game. For instance, in the solve the friction problem of Mach gravity, you need particles which travel orders of magnitude faster than the observed speed of light. And I don't know, I have no clue how that would help you. So there's absolutely no reason to believe that makes any sense. So now he's going to try to fix problems, and he somehow has a theory of how you get over the drag problem, and somehow you get over the drag problem by making the particles move faster. I don't see how that fixes anything, and frankly, it's idiotic, right? The whole premise is to fit the evidence, not to defy the evidence. There's absolutely no evidence that you could ever move anything faster than the speed of light. So why would anybody even indulge in trying to fix something that has as a premise faster than light speed? It's stupid. You're already failed. You're going to waste your time. But it's just nonsense. Like, oh, that's the only way you can fix it. No, there's probably lots of ways you can fix it. Lots of ways you can explain how it could happen. And somehow he knows, right? So the premise is he knows all of the possible ways you could configure something, and he's already done them all. He's done all the experiments and figured out that none of them work. And the only one that does work is making something go faster than the speed of light, which can't work. Anyway, and the laws of conservation of energy would be false. So, it's just, I've already been over this so many times. There's no violation of the conservation of energy in mock gravity. So it's just such a fucking idiotic lie in such a universe to prevent the matter from burning up from the impact. So again, he's still talking like it's impacts when it's not. It's already been described, it's absorptions. A car goes into a cul-de-sac, all the houses don't burn down. It's no big deal. Car just goes around in a circle. Doesn't defy, sensibility to say, oh, there's no friction inside of atoms, and the little bits can go around for billions of years and nothing catches fire. He doesn't understand that. All right, well, there's no point in reading the rest. I mean, these are idiotic premises, not part of the argument. So again, they can't make any real arguments. They can just do all this fake lying shit. All right, and the law of conservation of energy, universe prevent matter from burning up from the impact. So again, it's not about impacts, clearly. It's about exchanges, as I pointed out. There are no cars crashing. They're kinetic objects. They don't crush. Little pieces don't fly off. None of that crap happens. So again, this is just all such nonsense. Also, you still need to explain time dilation. Well, I just did that. So that's just absolute crap. The explanation that the Twans can't tap dance as fast when their ballet instructor. So again, he's doing all this nonsense, but he's not going to provide I still haven't explained it, except I did explain it. I explained a perfectly rational explanation for why atomic decay is retarded by velocity. It's a perfectly rational explanation. The decay has to do with processes in the atoms. A certain number of orbits, a certain amount of things have to happen. And if those things are slowed down by the fact that all the little bits have to be rearranged to move them, so therefore the processes take longer because you had to waste time moving, it's clearly a sensible argument. It's going to affect the clock. Nothing irrational about that. Now you can just mock it, but there's nothing irrational about it. It's a perfectly rational explanation for what we see. Perfectly rational. Perfectly. I mean, it fits in common experience. It fits in even if you made it a very exacting thing, even if you turned it into a mathematical equation, you could still get it. That if you have to go around in a circle, and as you're going around in the circle, you have to take some time to go this way and then come back again, that you're going to take longer to get through your circle because of those little side trips. I mean, that could be mathematically diagrammed for you. Would that help you? If I mathematically diagrammed it for you? Fucking cunt. All right, so he did make one other comment where he was talking about the gravitational lensing, and I just beat the shit out of him. Just wiped him out. So I'll do some more conversation on that just because I'll probably feel like it. Yeah. All right, so now we got this weird Huygens comment here. Let's see. Oh, look at all this crap. Oh, big pile of crap. All right. So this is, again, the cowboy, no doubt, another fake name. PSA. Sadly, you're very wrong about Huygens. Huygens' theory of wave propagation was an attempt to explain diffraction in the 1600s. That's exactly what I said, like the video before last. I even pointed it out, that Huygens had conversations with Newton, but most of those conversations were in regard to refraction. So it wasn't diffraction, it was actually refraction. So fuck you. It is usually considered the atomic explanation that gives the correct answer for all the wrong reasons. Irrelevant. This is like some kind of psychology bullshit. We're not talking about. We're sitting here saying comparing the evidence for two theories. You're in a courtroom. Somebody says, Well, the invisible man just pushes everything into the sun. And then somebody else says, no, there has to be a mechanical reason why. That, you know, and it gives you a much more complex explanation, you know, in the sense of complex, in the sense that there's actually a force and you have to explain where the force comes from and it has side effects and consequences. So yeah, it's really easy to walk in and just say the invisible man did it, and just say invisible man have all kinds of powers, you know, so I don't have to explain anything. Yeah, that's really easy, but it's a cop-out. All right. Of cause, there aren't really infinitely many wave sources on the wave. So again, just lie some more, right? I mean, the Huygens theory is, okay, I mean, you have to have some kind of consistent mechanism. You can't just say Huygens isn't saying there's an infinite number of waves. When no, the whole point is he has to say that because there's no way to limit the number. So it's just more crap. So more, why don't you contradict your own physicists? They say so, and now you're just saying, no, well, they don't mean that. So you're going to edit the physics instructors. You're qualified to edit them. In the case of water waves or sound waves, at least, well, you don't need Huygens in those cases, do you? Because we have perfectly physical reasons why the wave bends, right? The wave comes in, and why does it bend with water waves? Oh, that's right, because of good old friction with the surfaces. The water has tension, the surfaces have drag, they slow the water down closer to the surfaces, and the water in the middle is obviously doesn't get slowed down, so it goes further distance. So that's why the waves come out round. So we already have an explanation. And in water waves, in the single slit, there's no pattern, retard. There's no interference pattern, jackass. So here you are comparing something, you know, to water waves again, when water waves are a pretty poor example because there are no single slit interference patterns, shithead. Oh, man, what dumbasses. At least not in the literal sense, since these phenomenon involve infinite number of particles. Well, says you it involves a finite number. Yeah, again, but it's supposed to be one photon is doing this, stupid fuck. So again, you don't understand the program here. It has nothing to do with a finite number of particles or any number of particles. It has to do with a single fucking photon, okay, being converted into two waves. Shit for brain. C. No, fuck you. The problem with you is you're a dirty, stinking, lying sack of shit. Okay. Is you don't pay any attention. No, the problem with you is you don't answer any of the questions posed. You don't account for any of the weak evidence your science has. You don't account for any of the points I've just made. Nothing. No point made will you respond to or answer ever, ever, ever. Why don't you show me a pull force in the real world? Show me a pull force somewhere, fuckhead. All right, many times it's been pointed out. No, nothing's been pointed out in any kind of fucking evidence. Just more lies. Lie some more, fucker. That the third wave equation, when applied, oh damn, battery fell out. Okay, it's not so bad. That may not have been a tragedy. Yeah, lost batteries. Okay. Oh, you such liars. That the third wave equation. So this is supposed to be a real thing. The third wave equation. What's the third wave equation? When applied to the single and double slit, produces the exact same result as the Huygens principle. The equations are irrelevant as the equations, it's more about causes. So you're saying you have a third wave equation. Okay, I'll go look that up. But the principle isn't in the math. So you keep making these arguments that the math has something to do with Huygens, and it doesn't. Huygens happens just to create the sine theta. And the sine theta can be created by a lot of different explanations. Sine theta is an angle, fuckhead. And that angle, okay, you can create all kinds of notions, like the angels trip on a banana peel, and that creates the angle. You can create lots of stories about how the angle is created. you have a story and I have a story. I think my story is a lot more plausible. All right, except it doesn't assume that there's infinitely many point sources on a wavefront. And again, whether the equation, I don't see how an equation can presume an infinite number of anything anyway. Infinity should be kind of obnoxious to both mathematics and physicists. Both of them should think that's kind of silly. But whatever, play your game. It simply assumes the basic wave mechanics. And the basic wave mechanics is what's in dispute. So this is just another silly liar. Like there's another guy in the physics A guy who did it, and this other physicist did it too. I have a video of where he was doing the single slit, and he said, well, we need two waves, so let's just draw a line through the middle. And that was the explanation for why there's two waves. We'll just put a point between the two surfaces, and now we have two waves. And that's always how they do it. There's no reason for two waves to happen, except they need them to happen. So they manufacture them. But there's absolutely no mechanical reason why there's only two waves. None. It simply assumes basic wave mechanics. Again, basic wave mechanics says there's no interference pattern with a single slit. That's basic wave mechanics, retard. You need to go way beyond basic wave mechanics to manufacture your two waves, shithead. Newsflash. In water waves, there's no interference pattern with a single slit. Newsflash. Truth. Fact. Reality. The problem with this formula, and the reason it's not taught in intro to physics classes, or in third-year physics either, or fourth-year physics, for undergrads who may or may not be physics majors. So again, just more crap, like he's saying they don't teach this wrong in later physics classes, when of course they do, is because it's very difficult to solve. Oh, I think it's very difficult to contrive. Yes, it's so contrived. But I don't, this solving part, you don't need to solve it. Solving is where you're doing all these derivatives and everything. No, just take your formula and I'll give you every single variable. I'll give you all the variables. You don't have to solve for any of the variables. I'll give you every fucking one of them. I'll give you the distance of the thing. I'll give you the distance of the impediment. I'll give you the width of the slits. I'll give you the frequency of the light. I'll give you every single variable. Now, why would it be a difficult equation to solve if I give you every fucking variable? Just a pile of horse shit. In fact, there is usually no symbolic solution to equations such as these. Oh, isn't that brilliant? Whatever that nonsense means. Symbolic solution? What's a symbolic solution? Why would I want anything called a symbolic solution? Oh, you people are just so full of shit. Only numerical approximations. Yeah, and that's just fine. What's wrong with an approximation, fuckhead? Similar to the how pi can never be completely written in base 10. And again, who needs to have any answer to decimal places any further than like 3? Why would I care about any decimal places smaller than that? AKA the decimal system, aka like how you, Gary, need to use your fingers and toes. So this is more nonsense. Let's see, our base any counting number, but it can be approximated by, so he's telling me this obvious thing that, oh yeah, you can approximate pi. Yeah, I know you can, but you can approximate to just 3.1 too. You don't even need the 4 sometimes, and the 1592. Yeah, you don't really, that's close enough. I don't think there's any real equation important enough to do where you need details that exact. So what's the difference? Who's asking you to give me an exact formula? I'm just asking you to get someplace close to the truth. And you can't do that. Anyway, as I was saying, you weren't saying shit. The math, which uses Huygens correctly. And so again, more just a silly statement. Uses Huygens in a way not described as I could find it described by Huygens, described by even Dutch physicists teaching at MIT. So the Dutch physicist at MIT can't teach Huygens correctly. Is that your argument? Yeah, I think it's probably a shitty argument. Predicts our observations. Well, fuck you. But there is a better model that also predicts the exact same thing. Oh, another. So he's saying again, oh, there even a better one that the physics teachers don't pay any attention to. So all the documentaries and all the talking heads and, Feynman and all these people, they all didn't know the real secret. And you do. You know the real secret. Okay. And it doesn't assume there are two waves in one case and one wave in another. And so you're saying that you have an explanation for why you create two waves when there's a single slit. That's all I want. I just want an explanation for why there's two waves and only one slit. It is called the wave equation. Bullshit. Absolute lie. The wave equation. The Schrodinger wave equation has nothing to do with this and solving this and doing anything about this Huygens crap. It doesn't explain where the two waves come from. It expects you to put the two waves in the equation. It doesn't tell you how they're caused. Some more bullshit. I know you won't look it up. What am I supposed to look up? There's nothing to look up. There's no explanation of where you get the two waves from. So you're not explaining where two waves come from. I mean, you can't make this point any clearer, right? The two slits makes two waves. The single slit makes two waves. That's what they've done to the physics. I'm merely pointing out that you can't have it both ways. You can't have two slits that create two waves and then have one slit that creates two waves. That if the one slit creates two waves, then the two slits have to create four waves. That's what has to happen. That's the consistency of your principle. You don't have any fucking principle. The wave equation doesn't fix that lack of continuity, that clear paradox. Okay. So I'll leave it to your viewers to do their homework. You couldn't. So fuck you. You're just a lying sack of shit. But we already know that. With a fake name. Oh, these people are just disgusting. All right, so it is unfortunate the lensing comment is missing. But anyway, so I probably, I don't know if I have a copy of the whole thing in my clipboard. Probably don't. I did have to edit it, but I don't think I ever copied the whole thing. I don't think I did. Yeah, just some of the questions. Even near the speed of light, no one. So that was like some second part of it. Yeah, so I don't have the whole thing. Let's see how much of it's here. Yeah, I can paste it in here. Down. All right. Oh, good. It's here. This is the whole comment. Good. So I did answer it piece by piece, but I'll answer it again, piece by piece. Well, I'll see if there's any live commenters to deal with first. Live liars. If there's any live liars. You are insane. Yeah, your remark is irrelevant. Argue the arguments. You can't come up with a counter argument. Somebody's insane. They're saying something that's completely preposterous. I was abducted by UFOs, and you can't say something simple like, well, do you have any pictures of UFOs? Do you have any evidence? You can't say something rational. You're just going to say something stupid. Fucking idiot. All right. It says the person named Ralph Shart, whatever a Shart is, but yes. Yes, it's what I'm saying. He is ranting, raving at comments. Yes, I'm answering the comments. The comments are lies. How do you respond to liars? You just say, thank you, Mr. Liar. I like when I'm lied about. Thank you for lying some more. Is that what you do? And then you're a fucking gaping ass. Okay, with your mother's tongue way up your gaping ass. He has been doing the same damn thing for years. It's madness. No, whatever. Fuck you. I'm right. You're a piece of shit. I have integrity. You're a liar. What do you want me to say? You suck. I have character and dignity as a human being. I have respect for the truth. I have respect for evidence. You have none. You're a God-bothering, wishy-washy, little girly-brained fucktard. So, yeah, go die. All right. So, just useless mush. Again, I mean, they can't make any arguments. Just recognize that. I make assertions, direct accusations. The evidence of Eddington is shit. What's your counter argument? That's a great experiment. Well performed. Where's your argument? That it's overwhelming evidence. Only a crazy person could possibly dispute it. It's so fantastically great. It's hard evidence. Why don't you make that argument? Why don't you make that assertion? No, instead you just do this babble. All right. That's not an argument against this physics, yes. That's not the subject, yes. I didn't attack your name. I just stated it. It's true. I attacked your credibility by stating your name. Yes, we haven't started anything but facts. You must be the same Ralph whatever, yes. So anyway, I don't know what a shark is anyway. So, as predicted, useless comments. I mean, I appreciate Sid responding to them, but again, there's no real point, is there? I mean, killing is the only thing that's good for them. Anyway, so he says here, the questions have already been answered. So I said, that's a lie. Obvious lie. Okay. There is no contradiction. And then I said, no, there's not a contradiction, but what there clearly is a double standard. Okay. So in the sense of giving light, photons, immunity to the inverse square law. So there's clearly a standard. You've changed the standard of how the sun functions to suit the photon, right? Because logically, there's no way you can't draw me this model of why velocity means gravity affects you less. I mean more, not less. So that's the funny part, right? You're moving faster through the gravity. So here's a gravitational body, and you're moving faster through it. And somehow by moving faster through it, it attracts you more. Now, does that make any fucking sense? No. So I called it a lack of continuity. Unreasonable. In relativity theory, gravity obeys the inverse square law for low speeds. So this is a statement I've never even heard before. So in essence, he's basically arguing that somehow in relativity, we're right now, because we have a velocity, that technically we're not being affected by the inverse square law. And so it's a lie. I'm not, yes, the effects are very small at my small velocity, but there are real effects. So the inverse square law only applies to stationary objects. So the only objects that are affected by the inverse square law should be stationary, which is impossible. Right. And does it make any sense to you for somebody to say, well, the faster you go, the stronger the gravity gets? Because then wouldn't that mean that if I was a still object, that I could just place a still object right here, and it's going to be gravitationally influenced? Well, the faster it starts to move towards the gravitational body, the more gravity it would feel, beyond just the fact that it's getting closer. So somehow it would feel double gravity. So the faster and faster it goes, the more gravity it feels. Does it make any sense? Does that happen in reality? No, because that we would notice that. So this is clearly just something he pulled out of his ass. This doesn't exist in any science anywhere. Okay, so back to where I was. But the inverse square law is not assumed. Well, yes, it is. Everybody likes it. Okay, it's very popular, the inverse square law. Rather, if we start by assuming relativity, well, it doesn't matter. There's no start and finish. They have to be compatible as existing together. And as you're describing relativity, it can't exist with this inverse square mechanism. the mechanism that's causing it doesn't make any sense anymore, because all of a sudden the sun changes how much gravity it has to please photons, but not electrons. No, I don't like electrons. Anyway, we get the inverse square law at low velocities. So it's not it can't be the inverse square law technically. So again, that's just saying that they haven't noticed that technically it's not the right answer they're getting, that all these theories are wrong, because it's not the inverse square law. It's the inverse square law divided by the Lorentz factor. Who is saying that the inverse square law is some edict that shall never be violated? Not me. So again, this is the straw man part. I said something like, I didn't say straw man, but I said I'm not. And it's not the question. Even near the speed of light. So again, why would I assume that going fast through gravity means you get affected by more gravity? Going fast would sort of imply you get affected by less gravity. And clearly we don't see it in any other orbiting body. No one's ever had to account for this more gravity factor. I've never heard anyone ever say that some comet that comes in here is affected by more gravity because it's moving fast. Moving fast doesn't mean you are affected by more gravity. So that, like I said, he just pulled that out of his ass. It's just bullshit. Even though it's like no one. Okay, no one. So lots of people are saying the inverse square law is the rule. Feynman called it a law. Clearly, it's the rule. And I've argued that, yes, the rule changes when you get very close to another surface, because that has to do with the whole infinite plane thing and the fact that you're now preventing something from realizing the circular symmetry argument. It goes beyond the plane of the arc of the whatever you want to call it. So your lines, your infinite lines still hit the other thing. So that's the problem. But you have to get really close. Closer than two spheres can get. All right. So in a sense, you have to have two spheres that dent into each other before the inverse square law breaks down. Anyway, that's your cheat of the argument. So I didn't cheat any argument anywhere. I'm not arguing that I never argued that the inverse square law is there can't possibly be any exceptions. I just pointed out how there is exceptions, but certainly speed doesn't create any exceptions. Similarly, nobody is comparing the gravitational lens to a glass lens except you. Well, the only thing we're arguing is what do the glass lenses do? The shape of the lenses matter. And the fact is that lenses have a function. A magnifying lens has a certain shape because that shape gathers light that's diverging. So the small object creates a big image in the lens. The big image in the lens is brought to the eye, and that's called magnification, because it's looking at the big object, it's not looking at the small object. So the lens is creating a big image. The big image is what the eye sees. That's magnification, and there's certain rules about how that happens. That's what's being argued, shithead. The shape is important because it has to do with the angle, how much bending the light is. So the glass lens bends light, not differently than gravity does, very similar to how gravity does it. So it's a perfectly applicable analogy. They're analogous functions. They do the same thing. They take light coming at a certain angle and convert it into light going in another direction. That's exactly the issue. So that was idiotic. Let's see. Similarly, nobody is comparing gravitational lens to a glass lens except you. Okay, so he's also, so I pointed out how, well, yes, they are, because I can show you the images. So lots of images of lenses in the images, and certainly lots of images of the bending of the light in exactly the manner that a convex lens is going to do. So you're making my argument for me. Everybody is making that argument. They're pointing out it's a magnifying lens, and they're using exactly the same refraction angles that would demonstrate and a magnifying lens. Okay, so that's just a lie. Okay, and I would argue, show me one image that's shown correctly. So that was my challenge to him. Direct me to the single image in the subject of gravitational lensing where they draw the lens properly. Draw the angles of the bending properly, consistent with what gravity would do. Okay, except you. So it is not the wrong shape. It's using shape as an analogy. It is clearly the wrong shape. They do draw it as a regular convex lens in many cases. Many cases they don't show the lens, but many cases do. So there are documentaries, and I'm sure I could find a physics textbook that has it drawn wrong. Okay, the wrong shape. Optically, you would expect a lens with more bending near the center to have a focal ring. And so I pointed out the focal ring would be a sliver, not a ring. It can't be a ring. It's impossible. Because the problem is that even if you had parallel light and you were going to try to bend this image into a focus, the problem is, and here's your lens. The bending gets stronger here, weaker out here. The problem is this light needs to be bent less, and this light needs to be bent more, even if it comes in parallel. Now the point is their images are supposed to be coming from directly behind the lens. Now you can't lie and say they don't say that, because they do say that. So the image would have to be directly behind the lens. All three things are lined up. If all three things are lined up, then clearly the light on the outside needs to be bent the most, and the light on the inside needs to be bent the least. That's exactly the opposite of the gravity lens. So therefore the ring, if you can make one, the only way you can make the ring is there's one location where it hits and it bends one row of photons just right. It's one ring. It's a little tiny ring of a photon thick, 2 photons thick, 10 photons thick, a very non-thick ring. Because as soon as you start moving in the gravity, these are giant lenses, by the way, galactic-sized lenses, galactic cluster-sized lenses. So we're talking about huge distances, which means huge gradations in the gravity. So there's a lot more bending here than there is here. So there's no way a thick ring could be formed, because the light in the inside is going to be bent too much, and the light on the outside is going to be bent too little. So there's not going to be any ring that can get to your eyeball, into your pupil. So it's just a lie. It's just nonsense. It's just garbage. All right, so there'd be focal ring would be so small you couldn't see it. Einstein even said that about Einstein rings, which is ironic. Not a focal point. Again, you have to get it into the eyeball. So there's no way of getting around that. And your ring is bending the light on the inside too much and the light on the outside too little. Just a fact. This ring is what we see in the pictures of aligned gravitational lensing. And as I just pointed, and it even uses the word aligned. So I'm just saying it's clearly, when it's aligned, you can see that it can't, you clearly know that this angle is bigger than this angle, and the converse is true. So the stuff inside needs to be bent less, and the stuff on the outside needs to be bent more. And that's the only way all that light can get to a single focus. And you still have to do that. You still have to get it inside this little tiny hole in my eye. Asshole. All right. A concave lens bends parallel beams of light away from each other. Going to make the argument for me. Whereas an aligned gravity lens does the opposite. So again, as I pointed out, this isn't about comparing a concave lens. We've already said that the argument isn't concave. We've talked about the fact that the lens would be shaped this way. Eccentrically strange, diamond shaped almost. But regardless of the way it's shaped, just go by the amount of bending of the light. The light bends more on the inside. and it bends on the outside. Clearly, by logic, to create a magnifying lens, that is, you made a bigger image, so you make the thing bigger. That means the light on the outside has to bend more, and the light on the inside has to bend less. The exact opposite of a gravity lens. Okay. So this is probably why he deleted the comment, because it's just so fucking stupid. Whereas an aligned gravity lens does the opposite. So another bullshit argument, a straw man. It bends parallel rays inward. And again, even if they are parallel, so even if you have a galaxy and you lens it with another galaxy, so this galaxy is way far away, but it's still a big galaxy. So the lines are still parallel, right? Get it? Yeah, that's probably one of the problems with this argument, though. It's still parallel. But if you're going to, so you almost have to lens it with something smaller to be able to get the light to go around the object, right? Because the galaxy is going to be in the way and it won't be in the gravity. But anyway, let's just say for the sake of argument, this parallel bullshit is true. So you have parallel rays coming in this way. So they're all parallel coming in this way. They clearly, the one on the outside has to be bent more. The one on the inside has to be bent less to get to the eyeball over here. It's just not that fucking, I mean, I just don't know how to get around those mechanics. It's a mechanical problem. You have to have the right lens. The wrong lens won't work at a distance. All right, so let's see the last words. It bends parallel rays inward. Again, and it does it in exactly the opposite way. So anything that has thickness could never be a scene. You could see a shred of light, but you can never see anything. You can't image anything. Argue the argument, he says. Obviously, I do argue the arguments. You people don't. You argue straw men and you lie a lot. They're all fucking liars. All right, so no comments from the crappy gallery. All right, so what else is news? Yeah, so yeah, I did want to make that lensing argument just to be clear. Just irritating that these comments, they don't show up. And I mean, YouTube, it just, Google sucks. I mean, I should be at least informed there was a comment here that was deleted or something, just to be sure it was or something. I mean, it's just so bad. The fucking, you know, it's just such crap. Crappy system. Anyway, so I've been doing more Feynman lecture stuff. I don't know what chapter I'm on. That's the superposition idiot. Haven't finished lecture 1 yet. Almost done with it. But yeah, it's going to be it's horrible. Horrible. Yeah, so I'm on chapter 11, I guess. I think I finished chapter 10. Yeah. But I guess say some funny things in here. I mean, just the fact that, again, he's so cautious about drawing conclusions, except about these fundamental principles for which they have such weak evidence. It's just hilarious. All right, let's see this. So yeah, a lot of Bill Gatey videos here. So lots of research to be done. Lots of listening to be done. Yeah, so that's more of the time dilation shit. A little slit. I thought there was something else I had on my agenda. But I guess it doesn't matter. Well, we could play a little bit Bill Gatey thing, just because right at this point he's, you know, like I said, it's sort of a good conversation. He's just pointing out how they don't really describe where energy comes from, what it's made out of, what it is. I thought it was 15 minutes or so.
I'd rather use the word spirit, because we all can relate to that. You can say, I have kinetic spirit, and I have potential spirit, and now I have all the spirit to lift this weight, over my head. See, if you use the word spirit, then you know exactly what you're talking about when you say energy, because they're synonyms. They're perfect synonyms.
All right, so that's kind of silly. I mean, we know that energy is this idea of what causes things to move, and that you can store this potential to move things, i.e. the atomic bomb,
There is no such thing as energy, and especially if it's not defined, if you can't draw it, then it's the same thing as a spirit, a ghost, a phantom.
And I think the way it's used too broadly to
All right, so clearly you can draw it. So that has been drawn in vectors, in lines, in things that give it weight. The diverging line idea, like here, you're drawing essentially the energy and pointing out that there's more energy here than less energy out here in terms of what you'll get hit by. Certainly the amount of radiation that comes off of isotope can be documented as a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of calories of energy, movement, mass moving.
be used scientifically at all.
Right, correct.
It's kind of like the word God at this point. It means too many things.
Too many things.
People.
Yeah.
When someone asks someone, do you believe in God? Well, now you really have to ask,
do you believe in energy?
Yeah, so all you have to do is really recognize that all you're talking about is events. Events are, we usually associate the word energy with events. But you could argue that all it is a word used to describe a quantized force, an ability, an amount of movement. I mean, so this goes to my argument that, the clear implication is that you have two forms of energy. Straight line from point A to point B, which often is going to mean the straight line might hit you, or energy trapped in a circle, and therefore it's not bothering anybody. So until it goes straight, it's not energy you can see.
You just gotta ask him, what do you mean by God?
It
goes off into that tangent.
Well, let me ask you: do you believe in energy?
Yeah,
because God is a religious term, but energy is a scientific term.
All right, there was some better part. I guess I just didn't go back far enough. So this is just going to get into philosophy. But anyway, it's mush. So anyway, it's supposed to be talking about force eventually. So finally, we'll get around to that. But I mean, I don't think there's any point in just saying, let's not use the word energy, because the word energy is already in the vernacular. So if we just understand that there's a certain amount of weight, movement weight. And the whole, like I said, he was making fun of the whole idea of quantized energy. It's a certainly rational way to look at it. There's a certain amount of a Planck amount of energy. The tiniest amount of energy would be 1 photon going 1 foot, something like that. And everything else is just compared to that piece of energy. How many photons going 1 foot would it require to move an elephant 15 feet? So you can just figure out how many photons worth of energy is in an elephant being moved 15 feet. But anyway. All right, I guess there's no point in dragging that out. All right, so I think I made plenty of very good points in the last video, just talking about the idea of the difference between push and pull, the fact that we should be calling it the speed of force instead of the speed of light, perfectly rational, and the fact that really all we're talking about is in physics, all that's really happening is the idea of energy being released free to go in straight lines, and energy that's trapped in traps. And matter is essentially an energy trap. Like the sun absorbs the energy of the earth and is holding it, is keeping it locked to the sun. So it's not free to go cause energy problems. It's stuck in a place, and it's not free energy. It has potential to cause trouble somewhere else, the earth, but it only has potential to cause trouble because until the sun releases it, it can't cause any trouble. And that's physics. Physics is just following the moving forces. The forces do everything. They're the one. The matter doesn't move if the force doesn't affect it. The little bits have to push it somewhere. It's just a fact. All right, so I don't think there's much left. That's enough for today. See if anybody has anything to say, which nobody does usually. Yeah, pretty much nothing still, which is disappointing. But like I said, I might have to. I probably should just go back to making videos on subjects, and we'll just give up. So this is just the images of the spinning ball crap. Spinning dumbbell. It's not really a dumbbell because there's nothing in between the two little balls. Anyway, but the story had nothing in it. I can't believe people post a link to a story that says nothing. There's absolutely nothing how this is going to be terribly important. They just say something like, this could have implications to the vacuum energy of space. Well, they don't explain how it could have implications, how it could mean anything at all. No explanation. Just say that shit. All right, so let's see. Yep, that's it. Nothing still. So last chance. I mean, lots of subjects here. Oh yeah, I did get some stuff from Steve Bro, to slit stuff and whatnot, so I can do some experiments, and so that'll be good. Really thought there was something else I wanted to get to. A little disappointed. I can't remember what it happens. But anyway, it's the way it is. So, I will just continue to endeavor to persevere and whatnot, I guess. So, nothing else? Nothing? It's just, nothing. Nothing. Okay, nothing then. Till the next time. Such, so forth and whatnot.